Good evening and welcome to the Pleasantville Village Board of Trustees meeting. Today is Monday, January 27. If you're watching live on Monday, January 27, we encourage you to call in if you have any comments or questions. The call-in number is 769-1677. As always, you can watch us live on a webcast at pctv76.org or via Verizon or Cablevision cable TV, and within a couple of days after the meeting, you can pick up an on-demand webcast at pctv76.org. Our next work session is a week from today, Monday, February 3 at 7, and our next regular meeting is 2 weeks from today, Monday, February 10 at 7:30 p.m. Note that that's a half an hour earlier than usual, with a work session to begin at 7. I had a couple of announcements to make, a couple of which are requirements at this time of year. The tentative tax roll for the tax year 2014-2015 will be filed by the assessor on February 1, and tax grievance night will be held on Tuesday, February 18 from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the Clinton Street Center at the corner of Clinton and Wheeler. So that tax grievance night is established by state law on that Tuesday night in February. So if you believe you want to grieve your taxes, you can contact the assessor's office and find out what the requirements are. Again, tentative tax roll filed February 1, tax grievance night Tuesday, February 18. Also, in accordance with real property tax law, the village has compiled a list of unpaid property taxes, which at this point amounts to $524,342.08. That list has been reviewed by the board and it's been certified as accurate. If there is even the remotest chance that you're on that list, we very, very strongly encourage you to get off it. So,
we may be reading this list out loud here in the next few weeks.
For those of you who wonder why we have a slightly unearthly glow, it's not because we're communicating from an alien planet, it's because the projector is on in anticipation of a presentation soon to be made by PleasantvilleRecycles.org, our local recycling committee, regarding a retail plastic bag ordinance. You'll hear from them shortly, but I just wanted to apologize for the blue glow. Three other things I wanted to mention. One is, before we began our televised session, we had a presentation by Devin Juros, Pleasantville Middle School 7th grader, and his father regarding a great project that they have hatched to build a community garden in the yard adjacent to St. John's Church on Sunnyside Avenue. So they are developing a plan that would entail a 12-foot by 50-foot community garden, the sole purpose of which is to generate fresh vegetables which would then be donated to several food pantries to assist in getting fresh produce to people who need food. So it is not only a very interesting idea, but an extremely impressively thought out venture. They are looking for help of every kind, including manual labor, as well as organizational labor, as well as donations to make this happen. If you're interested in that, they have a website which is www.pvillegarden.org, and you can read about the Pleasantville Community Garden. More will be said on that, I'm sure, in the weeks to come. They are hoping to launch this project and start building the garden in April 2014. For anyone who's interested in it, or for neighbors who may be interested in finding out what's going on in order to understand what impact it might have on their neighborhood, Devin and his group report that they'll be reaching out to the neighbors quite shortly to talk about it. But a really, really interesting project, and a very, very impressive Pleasantville young man. The other thing I wanted to mention on a sad note is that Sal Rubino passed away last week. Sal is a long time Pleasantville resident and was for many years on the staff of Assemblyman Brodsky, and was helpful to the village of Pleasantville in lots of different ways, very much involved in Pleasantville activities and civic affairs and political affairs for a very, very long time. He and his family are knit into the history of this village in multiple ways, and we send our sympathy to the Rubino family and the extended family tree. Lastly, I wanted to mention, although it's not in our bailiwick, that the second half school taxes are due at the Town of Mount Pleasant assessor by the end of the month, and so in order to keep yourself off their list, we encourage you to keep on top of that. So with that, I introduce the Pleasantville Recycling Committee to make a presentation to us about a proposed plastic bag ordinance, if I have that correct. And we are going to move our way over there so we're both
Leave
not
me
in the
alone
way
there, Dan.
and we stop glowing.
You let me know, Dan, when you want the lights.
Okay, you won't have to close them down for me, Patty, because I won't be using any slides right now,
Okay.
in a minute. But thank you, Mayor Sheeran, esteemed trustees, village administrator, Patty Dwyer, Judy, and all. Thank you very much. Before we start, I would like to, first off, yes, my name is Dan Turner. I'm the chairman of the Pleasantville Recycles, or Pleasantville Recycles.org committee. And I would like to also introduce some of our committee members. Kristen Grislow, Kim Turner, Helen Muir, Sharon Aruvtek, Ruth Fisher, Jane Carr, Justine Collins, and Linda Shankman Curtis, Andrea Gabarini, Edwin Koo. And I'd also like to give a special shout out to Carrie Chapman. Carrie is a high school student and she's involved in Environmental Club, and she's been very instrumental in this initiative that we're about to introduce. We are here tonight respectfully to ask the Board of Trustees to adopt an ordinance to restrict the use of single-use bags in the village of Pleasantville. As an advisory committee to the board, we believe this is a responsible thing to do, and we fully endorse this initiative. And we believe Pleasantville is ready to take this step. As you'll hear in our presentation, our committee has done its homework. We've spoken to adults, we've spoken to kids, we've spoken to the Chamber of Commerce, we've spoken to all different levels of residents and local merchants in the community. And all agree the timing is right, that we should join other communities such as Rye and Mamaroneck and actually pass this initiative. As Pleasantvilleans, we know how many great things there are about our village. To live here really is to love it. And Pleasantvilleans will really go out of their way to protect their village. And we've seen this firsthand as a recycling committee. We have reached out to the community to ask them to be involved in several initiatives and projects that we have started, for them to be involved in helping us with reducing waste and recycling. And the enthusiasm that the townsfolk have shown, your village folks have shown, is really remarkable. From our Halloween and sports swap to our bicycle recycling to a whole variety of initiatives, we've gotten the support from the community, and they wholeheartedly and enthusiastically support these endeavors to make for a better environment. So they really do get it. One of the things that we've learned as we've gone through this initiative is that we are actually leading the pack in Pleasantville in terms of being number one in things related to the environment and recycling. In fact, a little known, little factoid about our community is that we are number one when it comes to recycling and reducing waste in our community. Now, there are some 42 municipalities in Westchester County, and Pleasantville is number one in reducing and recycling its waste in its community. So there is a standard here, and one that is growing as far as Pleasantville's commitment, if you will, to the environment. So what we're going to do now is take you through our presentation, and with further introduction, I'd just like to point out that Linda Schenkman Curtis and Andrea Gabarini, again, along with Carrie Chapman and then Edwin Quo being involved, have taken this initiative and really, really worked it to where we're at a point where we feel that it's the right thing to do, it's the responsible thing to do, to move forward, and it will be a positive for Pleasantville and for Pleasantville citizens. Without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Andrea here.
Thank you, Dave.
All right.
Thank you very much for, my name is Andrea Gabarini, and
Hi, I'm Linda Schenkman Curtis. I'm a resident of Pleasantville for 28 years. This town is very important to me.
and without further ado, we're going to do our presentation. Okay, PleasantvilleRecycles.org, Pleasantville Plastic Bag Initiative for a cleaner, healthier Pleasantville. We are going to open up this presentation with a short film called The Majestic Plastic Bag. It's very short, and Jeremy Irons is narrating it, and it was done in California.
The open plains of the asphalt jungle, home to many creatures great and small, and the popping ground for one of the most clever and illustrious creatures, the plastic bag. Today we explore the cycle of life for this curious creature, the plastic bag, on its migration to its home, the Pacific Ocean. Once released into the wild, the plastic bag is unsure of itself. It falters at first, but soon, with some help from the wind, the bag will be airborne. This flight will be the first in its long journey towards its final destination, the garbage patch in the heart of the Pacific Ocean. Using the wind to guide it, the plastic bag moves across the city through the air. A city park. This park may at first seem an idyllic place for the plastic bag, but danger lurks round every corner. Here it will encounter many enemies, including one of the most dangerous, park services. Poor little fellow. Looks like his journey ends here. Meanwhile, our little bag has encountered one of nature's most deadly killers, the teacup Yorkie. Once the Yorkie has locked onto its victim, there's very little hope of survival. But using its superior size and deft maneuvering, our bag manages to escape the Yorkie's talons and flee for its life. Over the course of its miraculous migration, the plastic bag will cover vast distances through neighborhoods, across parks, and down city streets. It is now nightfall, and our highly advanced night vision cameras have managed to capture for the first time in history a plastic bag in pitch black. Phenomenal. The vast cement rivers of California, home to literally dozens of animals. Many plastic bags will not make it out of here. The reeds and branches will see to that. As at home in water as it is on land or in the air, the bag's natural buoyancy makes it an excellent swimmer. gateway to the open sea. Careful to avoid the mouths of hungry sea life that feed on the helpless plastic, the bag will travel hundreds of miles to join the thriving community of plastic known as the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. The Garbage Patch is a veritable plastic oasis where millions of tons of plastic garbage remain trapped by the currents. It is said to be twice the size of Texas. Never actually biodegrading, here the plastic bag can live indefinitely, peacefully coexisting with billions of other petroleum species before breaking into ever tinier plastic pieces, thus completing the plastic cycle of life.
Okay, so that was a short film to open up our presentation. Well, the history of the plastic bag. In 1965, it was patented worldwide. In 1982, it was introduced into major supermarkets in the U.S. I think some of us in this room remember that we did not have plastic bags growing up, and we actually survived. Today, 100 billion bags are used annually in the U.S.
I just want to say one word to you. Just one word.
Yes, sir.
Are you listening?
Yes, sir, I am.
Plastics.
Exactly, how do you mean?
There's a great future in plastics. Think about it. Will you think about it?
Yes, I will.
Enough said. That's a deal.
Okay, so well, we see that in the 60s, that's when plastics really became an issue. The benefits of plastic bags. Plastic bags are lightweight, they're strong, they're flexible, they're moisture resistant, and they can be used to line your bathroom waste paper basket. Plastics is a fundamental part of convenient modern life, but all the plastics we manufacture and use has overwhelmed our ability to recycle it. Why recycling plastic bags just doesn't work. Do you want to go to the clip? Here's another clip of a film that we are going to show you that will explain why that's the case.
So where are plastic bags supposed to go when we're done with them? New York City supermarkets are legally required to take back our clean, dry bags and send them to specific plastic bag recyclers.
Did you know that there's a can in this actual store where you can recycle plastic bags? Do you think that's going to change your perception? Are you going to start bringing your bags back to this place?
In concept, that's great, except it's pretty inconvenient to have to bring back plastic bags to a supermarket or chain store. And unfortunately, the participation rates are pretty low because people lead busy lives.
That's probably why a lot of our plastic bags find their way into our city's recycling system, despite the fact that they're not supposed to go there. We took a tour of New York City's major recycling facilities and found out that Eric was right. Recycling plastic bags is anything but quick and convenient. They clog and gum up the recyclers' machines and then have to be manually picked out by hand, one by the recyclers. After the recyclers do separate the plastic bags from the other kinds of plastics, they're not going off to become new plastic bags. See, recycling is a commodities business, and they only recycle materials that there's a market for, and there is no market for dirty plastic bags.
A lot of this material is very dirty, wet, especially if it's been rain and it's snowing. So this is a very low-grade, low-value material.
See how dirty it is? That's why we're not really able to market it. It's not a very clean stream of plastic.
And how much do you think you can get for something like this?
You can't get anything for it. It's dirty plastic film of different types of plastic.
Since there's no market for these dirty plastic bags, they end up going right where they would have gone if we just threw them in the trash in the first place. Sent to a transfer station in the Bronx, Jamaica, or here in Greenpoint, and into a container on the back of this guy's truck, who then takes it to a landfill in Virginia. New York spends upwards of $300 million a year to send our trash out of state, so that we don't have to carry the burden of housing our own trash. Despite the damage that plastic bags do to our environment, and the huge costs and headaches they make for the city, as long as there's a free and easy supply of plastic bags, New Yorkers are going to use them and trash them.
So basically, it's really only 12% of our bags are ever really recycled. This is a picture of Carrie Chapman's poster. She'll explain it later. She went around our town. She took one camera, 2 hours in Pleasantville, and took pictures of 60 plastic bags. Plastic bags always are also a problem with litter. Okay. They are made from non-renewable resources, and that's some of the harm that's caused by plastic bags. Plastic bags are made of polyethylene, a petroleum product. Their production contributes to air pollution and global warming. The amount of petroleum used to make 9 bags would drive a car about half a mile. In the U.S. alone, an estimated 12 million barrels of oil is used annually to make the plastic bags that Americans consume. Not only that, their manufacturing, their transportation, and disposal require large quantities of non-renewable resources. They're a main source of stormwater pollution, and clogged drains. They frequently clog pipes, drainage ditches, along with and adding to the cost of stormwater management operations. I actually went to the DPW in Mount Pleasant and spoke to the gentleman that's in charge over there, and he had told me he'd be more than happy to see them leave our world and not have to pick them up all the time. Mount Pleasant has a problem with plastic, and they would be happy to see it go. Okay. Basically, we all know this. It chokes, it entangles, and poisons wildlife. This is a picture, it's hard to see this poster, but this is a picture of an albatross on Midway Island. It's a 6-month-old albatross, and what happens is the mother albatross goes off the island, gets food for its baby, comes back, and the food is a lot of the times plastic. And the albatrosses are dying, 6-month-old albatrosses are dying because they can't regurgitate the plastic up. So they're eating cigarette lighters and all sorts of things. And it's really quite sad. We're sparing you other horrible pictures of marine life that is choked by the plastic. Okay, basically it breaks down into small toxic particles that are ingested by animals and enter the food chain. Plastic bags don't biodegrade, they photodegrade. And like I said, they break down into smaller and smaller toxic bits. They contaminate the soil and the waterways. A plastic bag lasts about 1,000 years if it's left onto its own devices. They then enter the food web when animals ingest them. Healthcare spending in the U.S. has surged more than 8-fold since the 1960s. Skyrocketing at the same time are rates of chronic disease, use of synthetic chemicals, many that are used to manufacture plastics. And I quote, "We know these chemicals are reaching people. We know that chemicals can cause disease." And that's Dr. Philip Langren, chairman of the Department of Preventive Medicine at Mount Sinai. And you can, wait, just if you can go back to that, you can see the picture of the plastic and the plankton. And a lot of the times it looks very similar to a fish or any marine life, and they eat it. We can live without single-use plastic bags. Before 1980, we all lived without plastic bags. Restricting the use of plastic bags will benefit the environment and will reduce toxic elements in the food chain. Consumers and merchants will also save money. Why do we need a retail shopping bag ordinance? Sometimes education is not enough to change the habits that are considered part of everyday life, but are actually of no value to the community and can be harmful to many. As members of a community, we accept regulations imposed on us every day. We are not allowed to litter. We must recycle. We must use a seatbelt. In a village where dog owners are forced to pick up their pets' waste and are precluded from smoking in parks, why is it so hard to get people to employ reusable bags for shopping? It has been proven time and time again that voluntary compliance has not achieved the desired results because of the reluctance of individuals to change their behavior. Steps taken to educate our residents and merchants. We have discussed the restriction of plastic bags with local merchants and residents. 99% of merchants and over 500 residents have pledged their support. We could have gotten a lot more signatures from our residents, but this is what we, were able to do at the time that we had. Okay. We organized a well-attended community screening of the film Baggett and will host future screenings. The movie is currently airing on PCTV. We distributed stickers to remind shoppers to bring their reusable bags. There's a picture of Gianna Benetti. I think she's here. She's on the environmental committee. We hosted an information booth at a farmer's market to educate the public and to answer questions. Carrie Chapman and her sister are probably ready to kill me for that picture. But you wear that hat well. Okay. Reusable bags are distributed by the Chamber of Commerce. And we made a presentation to the Chamber of Commerce also and discussed our plans, and they were very, very supportive.
Okay. This poster is an illustration of what's happening in the world today. 54% of the world already has a plastic bag ban or plastic bag fee in place. In the United States, hundreds of municipalities, cities, and towns are now taking note of the environmental disaster that is looming and are now starting to change their behavior by enforcing bag ordinances. Pleasantville is only one of many towns in Westchester that are following this path. And here are some of our accomplishments that Dan has already highlighted, but here they are again. And one of the great things about Pleasantville is our environmental record. Residents have already embraced the Green Challenge by participating in countless initiatives in our community to reduce waste and to recycle. They get it. As you know, we have the highest recycling rate in all of Westchester, which earned us an Earth Day award from the county last year. We feel that Pleasantville is ready to take the next step and to take advantage of the momentum created in Rye, Mamaroneck, Westport, and other towns. We've spoken to adult residents here, we've spoken to kids, we've spoken to local merchants, and we've spoken to the Chamber of Commerce, and everyone agrees that the timing is right. It's time to restrict the use of single-use plastic bags in Pleasantville by requiring that vendors no longer offer them. This is the responsible and right thing to do to practice good stewardship of our land. As a committee, we have done our homework, and we fully endorse this initiative. We respectfully ask that the Board of Trustees adopt an ordinance in support of Pleasantville's commitment to our environment and to our future.
Thank you very much.
Safe to return, or you're finished with speaking?
Yes.
Okay.
Did you want Carrie? Oh, we also have Ms. Carrie Chapman. Would you like to come up and just tell us a little bit about what you're doing? Braden Cohen is also in the audience. He's from the Greenberg Nature Center. And Gianna Minetti is going to join her. We could just show them.
Hi everyone. It's great to be here with you all, and thanks to everyone who came in support of this initiative. I've always been aware of plastic bags as an issue, but it wasn't until this past spring when I watched the documentary Baggett that I realized the full extent of the problem. And if albatrosses on Midway Island are dying because of plastic bags thrown out thousands of miles away, then nowhere on Earth is unaffected. So with this in mind, I wanted to see how plastic bags were impacting my own community. And last spring, I walked around for 2 hours taking pictures of plastic bags. And as you can see, I got over 60 photos. And this, now the Greenberg Nature Center is sponsoring a public awareness initiative. And students across Westchester are creating documentary art projects to illustrate the problem. And these projects will be featured at an exhibition on March 1st at 4:30. And and just a shout out to Braden. He's from the Greenberg Nature Center. Janet.
And we would also like to thank the Pleasantville High School students who have been really involved and passionate about banning the use of plastic bags in Pleasantville. And we're really hopeful that this does get passed.
So I don't know who would be the right person to respond to a couple of questions, but toss it out there. You indicated, was it Andrea, that 99% of merchants had supported the idea of a plastic bag ordinance? That's an actual count of all merchants who've been approached, or every merchant? Has Key Food weighed in on this subject? I suppose they must be the largest user.
Come
up to the mic.
Come up,
Yeah.
Andrea.
Yes.
So,
I've had a
hold on,
Oh,
you
don't
got
talk yet.
it.
Till you get to the mic.
People at home will
It's
miss.
Andrea. Come on.
Will miss your.
Just got to keep
All right.
talking, Jonathan. I've had a close dialogue with Lewis and Key Food. I've approached him. I've written out a letter that he would, and had a packet of information that he's going to send to the upper echelon of Key Food, the grand wizards of Key Food. And he's very supportive of this. He knows, basically, I think we all know it's coming down the pipe in New York City and everywhere. He is optimistic that possibly, they'll be open to the suggestion. He knows I'm coming every time I come into that store, and he's very positive with me, and I'm hopeful that this will go, will be something that they will be easily adapted to. We did go around to all the merchants with Carrie Chapman and Linda Shankman Curtis, and we got a signature of a pledge of support. They didn't sign a petition, but they signed a pledge of support.
What were they supporting on the?
We had oh, she has it. Okay, good. And we can tell you what it said. And it basically said, I pledge to encourage the use of reusable bags by eliminating single-use plastic bags from my inventory. I recognize that single-use plastic bags end up in the environment. And it goes on just explaining. You want me to read the whole thing?
No, but I would like a copy.
Sure.
Okay.
We have.
Does it say in there that they would be fined over and above what the state?
Well, there it's just saying that you were encouraging people. There was nothing that says that they were up for a resolution to ban them.
And we didn't go around with that. We told them that this is just a pledge of support.
Right.
Okay.
We didn't ask them,
If
for
we could
their
just get a copy
signature
of what
that was
they-
going
what
to.
was on the pledge.
Did you have that discussion with anybody about banning them, and what was the response? Was anybody really opposed to it?
There was
or-
only one, and I spoke to a lot. I have a whole list of who we spoke to. Who would be pertinent, to.
Sure, we have a copy of it. And we discussed, we had a dialogue. Carrie Chapman was with us and Nicole was with us. And we just wanted to hear their concerns. And we had a lot of discussions with a lot of the shopkeepers. Of course there's concerns. Of course the shopkeepers feel that maybe it'll cost them more money if they have to buy paper. But basically, like in Westport, for example, where it happened, no store has really gone out of business because they adopted this.
No, but did you address, there's the state law that was in Title 27, which is their reduce, reuse, and recycling law in New York State, and that they've already had to comply with. They can't use the single-use bags anymore, according to the state of New York. They were given 6 months, the manufacturer, they had to have certain things printed on the bags, and they all have those things printed on the bags that they need to have. So they've already made those adjustments. So this would be banning what they already made an adjustment for. The state of New York has a law in place. Yes, it's Title 27. It's the Reduce, Reuse, Recycle law.
And what does it say about plastic bags?
And they have asked, they've not asked, it's the law, in 2009, I believe this law was put into place, that they have to have receptacles in the stores for recycling.
Yeah.
They
it
have
has
to
be,
put on the
yeah.
bag that, to reuse, reduce, recycle.
Yes.
That's all printed on the bags.
Sure.
The bags have to be, they're not to be single-use bags anymore.
That's a suggestion to.
Well, it's more of it's part of the law. So, and then there was
Yeah, but it's
addendums
not
to
working.
this law.
Pardon me?
It's clearly not
I mean,
working.
the bags are no different, they just have a message on them? Is that the?
Well, they're the bags, they have to have a recycling point in the store.
If it's a certain size store, like.
No, these are the, but I'll give you the law. You could read it, but
Sure.
I wanted to know how you address that in conjunction with what you're saying.
Well, basically.
With the store owners.
We basically said that we had an example of the RYE ordinance that was in place, and
Which
some
is a
of
lot of the same language that's in the law, the New York State law. The RYE language
Right, but
is very
that, I
similar.
guess, is not being enforced, because that's not, it's not,
Because people are still giving out plastic bags at the store.
It's not,
The
it
should be an
experience in
ordinance.
Rye,
yes.
are they totally now no plastic bags?
No, so if you read like our ordinance, there are certain things that are going to possibly, and we're going, there's a dialogue and discussing. What RYE allows is that if you go into a supermarket and you want to buy produce, the thin, skinny little plastic bags are still available.
Okay.
If you are going to buy cold cuts, those plastic bags are still available. I always like to say, though, growing up, we had wax paper and we survived. But anyway, that's okay. So
We survived with you.
Yes, I know. Also, dry cleaning bags were exempt. If you are a restaurant that has runny stuff that you're going to be giving your customers, there's a possibility, I believe, that some of the restaurants were exempt. But most restaurants can give you a paper bag, and you can be very happy with that choice. And usually the containers that they can use wax-coated cardboard containers. So RYE's ordinance is not, it's a reduction of the single-use plastic bag, and a very dramatic one. I actually visited the Westport Stop and Shop and sat there for an hour, spoke with the people, and no customer was walking out of there hysterical crying because they weren't giving their plastic bags. I mean, I'm just saying, they all seem to work. The manager there says that she did a little thing like what they have in Costco. She has a little table that says reduce, reuse, recycle, and she has cardboard boxes. She goes, I just use the produce boxes that we get. We leave them there, and customers can use them. So basically, Westport's big Stop and Shop is able to do this. And it seemed to be, and I sat with her for an hour. I got lists of vendors that they get their paper paper bags from. And, it's working there.
Did I understand correctly that the merchants in Westport in Rye viewed this with a great deal of trepidation and concern, but once it was put in place, they aren't really experiencing any of the or much of the things that they worried about in terms of loss of business and enforcing, customers fleeing the communities where they can get their plastic bag, their groceries put in single-use plastic bags. That's basically a non-event. Did I hear that correctly? One of the presentations I was at.
That was at the bag at
The bag was, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I thought
Sarah Goodard
I didn't dream
was-
that.
I'm sorry, it was a very incredible person, and it was kind of our person that we really got our information from, said that it has worked very well there. Can I speak for any of the merchants right now? No, I can't, but she says that there hasn't been a problem. Everyone's adapted to it, everyone is doing it, and everyone knows it's kind of the right thing to do, and it seems to be working.
Nobody stopped going to Whole Foods. Whole Foods doesn't provide plastic bags. It's all paper bags, and you bring your own bags.
Exactly.
I mean, one of the biggest, one of the
They make
fastest
it.
growing grocery store chains doesn't provide plastic bags. So it can be done.
I know we can do it.
Right.
I think certainly obviously by all the facts that you have and all the information you've gathered is wonderful. We just need to concern ourselves with putting another mandate on the businesses that they're not prepared to do. So, I think that's where a lot of our questions are coming from. Like, one of my questions is, we're such tight communities. Has any town like Rye noticed that people go to Larchmont or, go to a close store that isn't, in a neighboring town, like, for example, for us, if Chappaqua isn't doing it, will someone go, not that they have a
I
grocery
would
store
say
anymore,
that it would be pretty amazing that you get in your car, waste your gas.
but- Me too, I'm
go
just,
over-
I'm just saying, you
Sure,
know.
we can also explore that and ask Sarah Goodard, but I don't think there has been a blip in the
I
screen.
think she talked about
There is-
something like that at that
I don't think there was any,
presentation.
I don't,
Yeah.
I was pretty amazed.
Me too.
The way I remember it, everybody was worried for the merchants, and at the end of the day,
Yeah.
it was a non-event for the merchants.
And the chamber was behind it?
The chamber in Rye?
No, in Pleasantville.
Oh, yes. Well, Evelyn Latella, we went, Carrie Chapman, myself, and Nicole, we went for a presentation in front of the chamber. We didn't have a picture of that, I'm sorry, guys. But we were there, and we presented to them, and Bill Flukes, and everybody is open to it. Evelyn Latella is behind us. And I think basically the biggest concern is the merchants, of course, you know, along with the citizens of this town. And I think everyone is really on board, it seems. There are always going to be concerns. See, the thing is, like, if a merchant is afraid that they're going to have to pay more money for paper, right, as opposed to plastic, there's ways of, you know, getting around it. I mean, you could charge more, you know, for your product. I mean, what, 5 cents more, 10 cents more? It doesn't seem to be a big issue. No school.
You're supposed to bring reusable bags.
I'm sorry, yeah, and you're supposed to bring reusable bags.
Which
to
they can
begin
sell.
with. They can sell on their own, and in some
Right.
towns, the 10 cent, and also a lot of towns, including San Francisco, are charging you. So you're going to go in there and you're going to need a paper bag. You're going to be charged 10 cents for a paper bag now. You forgot your bag. We're all eco
Oh, that's
centers.
interesting.
But you know, when you bring your bags back to, say, ShopRite, if you bring your plastic, if you take plastic at one point and you bring them back, you get credit and you reuse your bags.
You do
Yeah.
get credit, and
Yeah.
that's a great thing
Yeah.
too. But the bottom line is, you know, it's working, and you're getting charged 10 cents for a paper bag. That 10 cents can go back to the merchant, and that's the way it's going. San Francisco, I have some information, and the way that they police this, you know, so to speak, if you're concerned about how to enforce this, there's sheets of paper that people will go in anonymously or not anonymously and say, I've been into blank blank store, and they're continuing to use plastic bags. I'd like to, you know, bring this to your attention. So San Francisco has a form that you fill out that basically states that you have seen this happening. And it also, we give them 6 months. We give everybody 6 months to comply. They can get rid of all their plastic inventory. And the posters that San Francisco uses, I really like. It just educates. And like if we put them around the town, people will get more and more used to it. And it can happen. Linda and I were, you know, sometimes there's concerns about income levels, or, you know, is it going to affect people? Are they going to be able to afford reusable bags? Linda and I were in Rwanda.
Right.
And
in Rwanda, you can't leave the airport with a plastic bag. The country is the cleanest country I have ever seen. And let me tell you, when I walk home and I walk down the cow path, as my kids called it, there's so much garbage on that path that I feel like I'm in India. And
We have a garbage problem, that's for sure.
And India is
Can I just-
adapting
yeah.
this too, because there's been horrible floods in India that caused thousands of deaths, and it was because a lot of it attributed to the obviously monsoons
clogs.
and the plastic bags that are clogging everything. I know we can do this. We
Can
don't need them.
You know, you guys did an incredible job. You
We
really
worked
did,
hard at
documenting
this,
everything.
the whole-
I commend you, and I have a lot of respect for what you did. I do have to just disagree with you on one point, and
Sure.
and that is that education doesn't work, because I think, you know, you tout the great accomplishments that we've had in Pleasantville, and I would think that when you started this, even some of your committee members weren't even aware about the dangers of plastic bags, and I'm sure that they are very aware of it now. I mean, we were never the #1 recycler until you guys got out there and educated the people of Pleasantville, and all of a sudden, out of the clear blue sky, we're #1. You did that. You educated the people. That's why Pleasantville responded. Helen, I mean, when we were talking about banning leaf blowers and all of a sudden it came to mulching. Now, so many people I know are mulching because of you, Helen. You made them mulch. And it's the education, and it's the thing. I know you would, but I'm saying all these things we did, you did. I'm not saying we, you did. You, young lady over there, I remember when you first started, giving us new bins. We did it through education, and people responded to it. We didn't take anything away from them. We didn't put a ban on them. We didn't restrict them. We educated them, and we said, this is how you can contribute, and they reacted. So I give you even more credit for that. So that's where I disagree. I don't ever believe that you have ever reached the point where education doesn't work anymore, or education isn't good enough, or it's not gonna do a job. I believe it does, and I think you've all proven that from all the things you've done.
I'm gonna agree to disagree. I have to say, I went to the Bagot presentation, and I thought I had the 40-minute movie, and
I
we were
know,
with the
Colleen, I'm sorry.
You gave me the
65-minute
65-minute movie, yeah.
But I watched it, and I was really
65,
overwhelmed by the information. And the next day, I went to Key Food, and I didn't use any bags, and I was great for about a week. And then 2 weeks later, it's true. Unless you're going to educate every day, all the time, it doesn't work.
No,
so I have to say, 2 weeks later, I was back with all my everything in the bags, and you're talking about banning really what I call the T-shirt bags.
Yes.
With
that's
things.
the T-shirt.
So I agree with what I do agree with what Mindy has to say. That I think you've done an incredible job. But unless you're going to be out there every day to do it, it's sort of like the sneakers too. You know, you collect the sneakers and the cleats, and that's great. But when you're not collecting them, we're not doing what we should be doing with them. So.
Just to quickly respond, the seatbelt law had to go into place. People are not going to get in their car and put their seatbelt on unless they're sure they're not, a lot of times they know they're going to get a ticket. We have to pick up after our dogs. And it's a law. We have to recycle. That's actually a law. So I feel, and Mindy, I gave you a copy of an article from the New York Times stating why that just, asking people to do it isn't enough. They tried that already. They tried it in San Francisco. They educated everybody. They asked people, they started, I think they even charged, I might be wrong, but they might have charged 5 cents on a bag. It didn't work. It doesn't always work. And that's my
we'll agree to disagree because
Sure.
I believe in you guys, and I know I've seen the results of what you have done. And I've seen a lot of people change around here because of your efforts.
Thank you for that, Mindy. And just a comment on the education piece. We kind of disagree with that because if you consider here in Pleasantville, the biggest store is Key Food. And we understand from other communities that have done this and working with the larger supermarkets, it's not that you would go in and look to get the supermarkets on your side, because secretly they want to be on your side. They want to get rid of these plastic bags. There's no real advantage for them. So by coming forward with an initiative that says, no, there's a restriction in this village, you can't use them, it takes them out of being the bad guy, and it's something that they just have to conform to, and then it becomes part of the land. It becomes more of what we do. And then the whole education thing, bringing your bags. My biggest problem is I get out of the car, I forget the bag in the car. So we're trying to find ways to overcome that.
We all do.
Maybe it's really great stickers though.
If we had a
that I put on
You
my
have to
car
talk.
window.
You have to talk on the mic.
No.
So the people can hear you at home, that's why.
Sorry, I'm Christine.
Thank you.
Live in Pleasantville. We made these wonderful stickers that were part of our presentation. I have to say, I'm also someone, I forget my bags in the car. I have lots of them. And I think we all have lots of reusable bags by now, because everyone gets them, even from somewhere. I mean, Chamber of Commerce actually provided them at the farmer's market. I've got 2 of them, and I love them because they're white anyway. I love them, but I forget them. So I have this sticker now. Pleasantville residents, listen, we give out stickers. I put them on my window on my car. When I get out of the car and I close the door, there's this blue sticker that says, "Did you forget your reusable bag?" And I remind myself every time I look at it, and I'm like, oh yeah, my bags. So guess what? I do take my bags. Therefore, you need that sticker. Did you remember your reusable bag sticker? It works. So there's our education. It's a very small part of your life. It will be a blue sticker on your car.
Christine and I were in ShopRite together, and I had my bags, and she didn't have hers. And I stood there and looked at her for about 5 minutes, and what are you doing? Where's your bags? She had to run back
in
to
the
her
car.
car.
Not anymore.
I'm just saying.
Not anymore.
We'd just like to bring up one thing. Edwin has worked very hard on our sample ordinance, and go ahead, Edwin.
Hi, I'm Edwin Kuo. So I did some research on this ordinance, and we tried to prepare something that encompassed a little bit more than what Rye did and what the other villages did, because I think as I was reading their ordinance, it felt a little wimpy to me, and it felt like we should try to incorporate things there that worked for everybody and was fair. And so what we did, and so I just want to sort of talk about the education part, because there is a section in here that, we believe that there needs to be something on top of an ordinance to sort of talk to people and educate people about what's going on and what the importance of this is. And so back on section 7 on the last page, we do have language there. And this is a draft, and it's something that we can certainly talk about and go through a process with you guys and the lawyers, and just try to get something that works for everybody here in Pleasantville. There's a lot of language here that's sort of that's not in the Rye one, not in the Westport one, but it just felt like it was necessary to put these things in here so it would work for more people and it would be acceptable by more people.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Edwin.
No, I was just going to add, one, wonder what the next steps would be, but two, I think that, I understand what Mindy's saying, and like everybody else, I applaud the education process, but I also think that when something's pointed out that's so egregiously wrong, and can be fixed seemingly with a fairly simple solution, I don't know why we need to wait for the education process to work when indeed you can create a solution that works more quickly. From what I've heard, and granted I haven't heard necessarily anything and may not hear anything to Dan's point necessarily from the merchants, because secretly they'd like to see this go through as well. I haven't heard anybody object to this. And I know that you guys have been out and around and kicking around. I know that Carrie's been doing a lot of work with the students at the high school, and from my perspective, at least what I hear now, and there may be a state law that does encompass most of this, and I agree with Mindy. The frustration of laws on the book that aren't enforced, and then we putting more laws on the books to try to enforce them because they're not being adequately enforced by the state. Well, welcome to our nightmare. I mean, we deal with this every day. Unless I heard something persuasive from the merchants, this seems like a no-brainer to me. I don't know. It just seems like something we can do that has minimal impact to no impact potentially on negative impact on the merchants and individuals, and has the potential great impact on perpetuating the momentum to get rid of these goddamn things. I mean, these things.
Bleep.
Yeah, we're live, and I apologize for that, but it is one of these things that you can get passionate about very quickly, and when I see the images of albatross in Midway Island, or even pets choking on them locally, it's just there's no reason for it, and I don't like seeing them hanging off the barbed wire fences and impacting the quality of my life. So I'm open, and we remain keeping an open mind. If the merchants can come in and tell me a compelling rationale why this bag is an important thing for them, but if it's not, what's the next steps? I mean, what do you look to us to do to move this forward?
Right.
My sense of that would be, you've made this excellent presentation, and all of us collectively will get the word out that this is under discussion to see what kind of response we get, and to make sure we've sort of cast a broad net for people to have an opportunity to weigh in on it. But,
well, it seems to me that we need to first, like anything else, we should come up with some kind of a resolution, some kind of a. We should have, from our side.
Edwin has given us that.
Well,
so,
I've read this, and this is great. Well, we should review it and come up with something that we can just sort of, it might well be this. But this should be the basis upon which we hold whatever
hearing.
public hearings that we need. We, you know, that we have to make sure that this is what we're going to hang our hats on, and then schedule a public hearing. But I agree. I think we need to move this forward in a way that we're not just sitting and thinking about it like we do a lot of things. Let's move it forward.
We can get you some more ordinances anywhere, you know, San Francisco, Los Angeles, the 75
Well, I'm not
counties.
sure. I'm not sure.
Mamaroneck
If you want- no, I'm just saying if you want
Mamaroneck
some-
has one, don't
Yeah,
they?
sure. I mean, we can
right,
get you
yeah.
the examples, so you could work together looking at them and seeing.
But
what
I think on
others
our
have
side,
done.
before, I think we should, you know, collate whatever it is, you know, whatever ordinances we have to look at, come up with what it is that we feel is tailor-made for Pleasantville, and then have that discussion based
Well,
on
because
that.
we need the businesses to weigh in on what we're saying
That's
in the
right.
ordinance. So we need
That's
to be
right.
specific as to what we've got so that they can come in and comment.
That's right.
And then it might go through some revisions,
Right.
but we need to have that public hearing.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
So you
and
need to give that to Patty.
And the other piece of that is that there are some components of this that are not necessarily incorporated in every resolution. One of them, for example, in the draft you gave us, proposes that at a certain point there would be a required charge to give somebody a paper bag as well. You know, those are all elements of this that could get discussed. So,
Right, I'm not sure
I
that-
just will say one other thing, though, that also, beyond this, is that, you know, you say it's against the law to litter. I mean, if you walk around Pleasantville, I live over by the pool, as you know. The kids, a lot of them are kids, sorry, but they are, a lot of them are high school kids. My kids, I hope they didn't do it, but I hope they just didn't do it. But driving down the street, dumping their bags out of the car, there is garbage. I mean, at that corner by the pool, in various places around Pleasantville, the littering is horrible. People pay no attention to anything. They have their lunch in the parking lot at the pool, and they leave all of their lunch containers in the parking lot. We go down there, our neighbors, we pick everything up. It's terrible. We have a garbage problem, and there's no two ways about it. And I love to get that word out that, you know, you don't leave your stuff around like that, you know. So,
Good point.
I know, the cow path, your cow path is horrible. I know.
You have to talk in the mic, Linda.
Get up there, Linda.
I mean, this is a conversation that's been going on for years. I
Years.
would say
Mhm.
most of my life.
Yep.
You know, and it's not getting any better.
No. And,
You know,
and it's,
so-
I agree. And, you know, that you were talking about your cow path. There's more than just plastic bags there.
Oh,
And it's just, it's
And I was
disgusting.
thinking maybe if there was a garbage can, because kids are smart and they know to use a garbage can, so let them put their beer bottles in the garbage
Right.
can instead of leaving them on the path. you
That's
know?
no fun.
I mean,
Well,
it's awful.
so,
Thank
I mean,
you.
obviously, there are a bunch of issues, but
Yeah.
we will move ahead right away, as you will, obviously, to get discussion going about this, and perhaps have a formal opportunity at a board meeting soon for people who have opinions about it to weigh in, so that if there's anyone who's opposed, we can hear it. I mean, there are two. I thank you, obviously, for that thoroughly well put together presentation. I, for one, find it hard not to be convinced by anything Jeremy Irons says, so that's a good way to
Also,
start.
get us a copy of the petition, what was said on that. You just, okay, thank you. Okay.
But two things just come to mind sort of in my closing, and one is that, as you all made clear in those images from the Staten Island Recycling Center and the truck departing, in what we all think of as civilized society, part of the reason it seems so civilized is that we have exported the results of our civilized life somewhere else. Easy to ignore that reality when you don't see it. Obviously, in a different era and in different places in the world, people can't afford to behave that way because they can't afford to send their garbage to somebody else's property. So that's obviously an important takeaway from that piece. And then just as a personal matter, I can say that I've gotten pretty good at bringing those bags that have been given to us by the farm market and the Chamber of Commerce and all that have the rigid bottom, and I now sincerely annoy myself if I don't have them, because they are spectacularly easier to pack and spectacularly easier to carry out of the car and into the house. And so, I mean, it's just an interesting point that that behavior modification has actually made clear to me that plastic bags don't work as well some of the alternatives. So
One of the things that might be helpful if we're going to respond to businesses would be, you made some good suggestions about what stores do. They charge extra for bags, they have boxes up in the front. Maybe you could put together a list of those things, some of what the alternates are, so that when the businesses come in, there's some response to some of what their concerns would be.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So I thank you for all of that. We'll move ahead. You'll move ahead. You'll push us to move ahead, for which I thank you. And I think we can sort of establish the goal of trying to come up with a plan of action within the next month or 6 weeks. Sound right?
Thank you.
Okay. Brief break to change tapes for the video. Welcome back. We had a brief break after the conclusion of the Recycling Committee presentation on the plastic bag issue to change the tape. And we are now back to the next step in our agenda, which is the resolutions, the first of which is number 12. Colleen.
Be it resolved, in accordance with Chapter 14 of the Policies and Procedures of the Pleasantville Department, and after being appropriately advised by the Chief of Police, the Village Board hereby authorizes the Chief of Police to settle a disciplinary matter involving Village of Pleasantville Police Officer Peter Burns.
Is there a second?
Second.
I have a statement here that I'd like to read into the record that pertains to that, and it is as follows. As many of you know, in December 2013, the village was notified by the press of comments posted by Pleasantville Police Officer Peter Burns on his private Facebook page. The posting was offensive on many levels, its obscenity, its racial language, and its implied threats to the president. These statements undermine confidence in law enforcement, and they cast doubt upon the ability of this officer to fulfill his sworn duties in a fair, unbiased manner. I want to be clear that the village has no interest in the political beliefs of its employees. We do, however, have a fundamental interest in ensuring that the statements and actions of our employees do not harm their ability to fulfill their responsibilities. Our police department has conducted a comprehensive investigation, and we have spent many hours reviewing this incident, the rights of employers and employees, the special responsibilities borne by police officers, and the evolving legal and policy issues that surround social media communications. That review has included advice from our legal counsel, recommendations from the police chief, and discussions with Officer Burns and his PBA attorney. After an intensive effort to address both the ethical and legal issues presented by this incident, I report tonight that Officer Burns has accepted the following disciplinary actions: a 60-day suspension without pay or benefits, forfeiture of 25 vacation days, a fitness for duty assessment by a village-selected provider, a training program focused on diversity and sensitivity, and a 2-year last chance agreement following his return to duty. Officer Burns has provided an apology to the community at large and to Pleasantville residents, as well as to the chief and his colleagues in the police department. He confirms a personal commitment to earn the trust of all in his future service. As we move forward from this incident, we remind everyone of the bedrock commitment of this community and its village board that every resident of Pleasantville, every visitor, every person passing through this good place deserves confidence that they will be fairly and equally treated, regardless of race, faith, or personal beliefs. Your elected board, your police chief and his officers, and your village administration renew that commitment today. With that, all in favor of resolution number 12 to authorize the settlement of the disciplinary matter with Officer Burns?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Resolution passes. Number 13, Mindy.
Resolved that the pre-check register dated January 27, 2014, covering wire transfers number 77157 and pre-check register number 77158 through 77240 has been reviewed, and they are hereby approved and listed below. The general fund, the water fund, the refuge fund, the pool fund, the trust and agency fund to total $309,752.62.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments or questions on the check register? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Jonathan.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby appoints the following election inspectors for the village March 18, 2014 election: Salvatore Talio, 75 Lenox Avenue, Giovanna Talio, 75 Lenox Avenue, Connie Mazzullo, 30 Meadow Lane, and Marguerite Limatone, 233 Broadway.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Just let me interrupt briefly to remind everyone, as I might have in the original announcements, that there is a village board election for 2 trustee seats that, as you just heard, will take place on March 18. Anyone interested in potentially running is encouraged to go to the website, pleasantville-ny.gov, where there is a link also to the state and county board of elections. Petitions for admission to the ballot are due by February 11. Got that right, Judy? Okay.
That's right.
We voted on that, right?
Yes.
Okay. Brian, number 15.
Be it resolved in accordance with Section 58-3 of the Village of Pleasantville Code pertaining to appeals and amusement device licensing, the Village of Pleasantville Board of Trustees shall hold a public hearing on February 10th, 2014 at 7:30 p.m. prevailing time to hear an appeal made by Francis Frank Campbell as owner of the Thirsty Scholar, 472 Bedford Road, Pleasantville, New York, regarding the denial of a license to maintain a pool table at said premise.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved.
16.
Colleen, 16, right?
Be resolved that pursuant to Chapter 185 of the Village of Pleasantville Code, the Village of Pleasantville Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the village clerk to notice a public hearing to be held on February 10, 2014 at 8 p.m. prevailing time to accept comments pertaining to petitions by Toll Brothers, Inc. requesting the following proposed actions. 1. Adding a subsection 4 to Section 185-25A to read as follows. Notwithstanding any provision in this article to the contrary, PUD designation may also be applied to lands located within a campus office CO district, provided such lands are comprised of at least 15 contiguous acres of property. In such event, the number of dwelling units to be constructed within such PUD shall not exceed 5 units per acre. Number 2, adding the following to the end of Section 185-25B5. Unless the Planning Commission determines that in light of design, location, topography, and/or potential landscaping and screening, a height in excess thereof would not, in the exercise of its reasonable discretion, result in a significant adverse impact, provided that the height of any building shall not exceed 35 feet. Adding the following to the beginning of Section 185-25B6, the right-of-way and pavement widths and lengths for internal roads serving multifamily dwellings. And lastly, 4, amending the zoning map of the Village of Pleasantville to change the zoning designation of Section 99.14, Block 1, Lot 79, from the Campus Office CO District to the Planned Unit Development PUD District.
Is there a second?
Second.
This is the hearing for the zoning change for the Toll Brothers project, as you have just heard. The Toll Brothers project is the housing project proposed to be developed on Washington Avenue, the former Baker Properties site. It has been the subject of much discussion and has already been the subject of a State Environmental Quality Review Act resolution by this board, and what we are posting to occur on February 10 is the hearing for the proposed change in zoning. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved.
17?
Yes.
Be it resolved that pursuant to Section 185-58 of the Village of Pleasantville zoning code, the Village of Pleasantville hereby authorizes the village clerk to notice a public hearing to be held on February 10th, 2014, at 8 p.m. prevailing time to accept comments pertaining to the petition by Klepp Flooring Realty to amend the zoning map of the Village of Pleasantville to change the zoning designation of Section 106.9, Block 2, Lot 9, known as 19 Hobby Street, in the Village of Pleasantville, from the multiple residence R3 district to the A1 business district.
Is there a second?
Second.
Again, this is a relatively minor change. The property in question is the small commercial building that is on Hobby Street, immediately behind the BP gas station, and the owner has requested that it be included in the A1 commercial district, since it's a commercial building instead of in the residential district behind, and we are posting the hearing for that. As you have just heard, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. 18.
Be it resolved, the Village of Pleasantville Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the village treasurer and deputy treasurer to attend the annual Munis Software Training Conference in San Antonio, Texas, on April 13th through the 16th of 2014 at an approximate expense of $2,000 per person. The conference expense is included in the current operating budget.
Is there a second?
Second.
Munis is our central accounting and financial management program, and Mary and Noreen are the keepers of it.
And I will say they get a lot of utility out of that program, which has the potential of delivering a lot of utility.
You're absolutely right about that.
No doubt. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Brian.
To increase revenue and expense to cover costs incurred from the sale of real property, the Iron Horse Grill, and to transfer funds to the general fund for payment of survey and legal fees. From our revenue, the amount to increase $6,091 from the sale of real property, increasing the same amount to the expense budget code of legal, and $4,587 from water compensation for loss goes to railroad station IHG for a total of $10,678. Also to transfer funds for various over budget accounts, $2,500 from DPW equipment to maintenance patching materials, and $15,000 from snow equipment to snow, sand, and salt for a total of $17,500. And finally, to record the receipt of CHIPS funding and to appropriate fund balance to cover cost of additional street paving, increase $96,879.76 from CHIPS goes to street resurfacing, $20,208 from interfund transfer to street resurfacing for a total of and also $20,208 to transfer of fund balance to capital.
Yeah, how's that work?
What's going on here?
What happens with the CHIPS is that we record it, comes in from the state, so we have to
Oh, I see.
record it in revenue, and we record it also in interfund
Got it.
transfer to.
So it's not two amounts, separate
No,
amounts.
But what you're seeing here is that the CHIPS program brought in $96,879, but our paving actually cost $20,208 more. So we need to appropriate fund balance into the
Right.
capital.
So,
Before we get to, can we have a second on that?
Okay, sorry.
Second?
Second.
Okay, go ahead.
I know that we had some issues with CHIPS as far as if we were going to get the funding, how much funding we were going to get. So this was obviously lower than we thought.
No, CHIPS was accurate. What
They were
happened is
good?
our project came in over budget on the upper end of Grandview. If you remember that big wide
Yes.
area, we did a little extra work up there. We did a little extra crowning and paving. We spent more money on material to do the job right.
Which
So,
part of
This is up
Grandview?
on the top of the
So the
hill.
area where we had that drainage problem.
Where Petra
Right.
lives?
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know
area.
that we did it.
We did. Oh, we paved all up there.
What did we do? Did we bump out any curbs?
We overlaid a lot more than we thought we needed to get a better crown on that road.
Did we take down the sight distance issue there? There was an
We've
issue.
not done that yet. We've not
Okay.
narrowed the throat of the road as we talked about. We've not done that. We have to revisit that in the spring. We just
Okay.
ran out of time.
Yeah, yeah.
But this was from the paving.
Okay.
From the paving.
But where is this extra 20,000 coming from? I'm not understanding the way this is set up.
It's coming from fund balance.
Fund balance.
But shouldn't one be coming out of somewhere and going into another? It's posted twice.
No, it's basically authorizing the appropriation of the $20,208 of fund balance that goes then into the interfund transfer, which then goes into.
Got it.
So
Okay, I got
it's
it.
basically.
It's an intermediary
Yes.
transaction. Okay.
Transferring
thank you.
capital and then it
Then goes
switches
into
back
the
again.
street resurfacing.
Okay.
Sorry about that, but this is the
No,
accounting.
that's all right.
That's right.
It's different.
It just usually
That's
balances,
what they,
and it
that's
didn't.
what they learn on those trips in San Antonio.
All right, thank you for that, Patty. All in favor?
okay.
Aye.
Aye, motion approved. That's the last of our agenda items. Is there any new business?
No.
All right, be reminded that we're beginning our televised meeting at 7:30, 2 weeks from today, in order to incorporate the requested hearing for the Thirsty Scholar on the denial of the billiard table. So because we also have a raft of other things, including the public hearing on the Toll Brothers Washington Avenue rezoning, we're starting at 7:30 in our televised session. We will also be here at 7 for our work session. We're here again next week in a work session as we launch into the annual budgeting cycle. The draft budget will be posted by, what, March 20, something like that?
It's due by the 20th of March.
Okay.
In terms of being filed with the clerk, but we'll, as soon as it's available, it'll be posted.
Right, so
that'll be the latest.
the general schedule for the budget is that we get a draft budget posted by March 20th, or if not before, and then between that date and the end of April, we have a public presentation and a public hearing on the budget, further discussions and pen sharpening in time to adopt the budget by the end of April. Oh joy, here we go.
I know. It seems like it just keeps coming
Do I
around.
have to take part in it this year?
Yes, you do. You're not excused until the
I
first
can't
Monday
vote.
in April.
Super Bowl Monday, we're just in work
You
session.
know, Brian, what's nice, you get to look at it, but you don't get to adopt it. You won't be here
So,
to do that.
at any rate, we will be struggling, as we do have for the last several years, a couple of years, with the issue of the New York State tax cap, which this year is going to come in below 2%. For a variety of reasons, and we will struggle. I certainly speak for myself that it's our goal to remain under the cap if we can, but we won't do that if that's an irresponsible measure that would cause us to kick the can down the road on fundamental spending that needs to keep this village in good shape. So stay tuned. Comments will be welcome on all of that. Be reminded that the farm market continues on Saturday mornings, the winter market in the Pleasantville Middle School. A great event, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., if I got that right. Mindy?
Yep, I guess. You'd know better than me. You're a frequent traveler
I'm
there.
a frequent traveler, so.
Is your cheese guy still coming?
Yes. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We will adjourn and return to work session. Thank you all. See you in 2 weeks.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.